Alright, haven't done a Yu-Gi-Oh video for a while, but this time I'm doing my favorite top 10 anime exclusive archetypes. So how I rank this list is by design and playstyle, and any archetypes that only has like 1 or 2 cards printed will also be counting towards this list. Like for example, fossils before it's getting printed, where they only had 1 card for a long time and the rest of the archetype has not ever been printed, will also count towards this list. Although any archetypes that are being printed now will no longer count. So other than that, let's just get started. Just barely making it to my list, it's Darts' Orichalcos archetype. And yes, only Seal of Orichalcos and Orichalcos Hentai have been printed. Other key Orichalcos cards has not been printed like Dirtoros and Tritos, Orichalcos Kutora, and many other cards that Darts use. So why is this in my number 10? Mainly because design-wise they're okay, and playstyle wise mostly focuses on defensive and uses offensive playstyle once you summon your hentai along with Yuri and Yoi. But other than that, the design is okay, not really my favorite, which is why it's my number 10. Number 9, it's Spectre Sun Avalon. So this archetype is mainly on the list for its very defensive playstyle, focusing on making sure that you don't take damage, and then using Thrasher as your offensive. And not only that, this is a plant-based archetype which has a pretty interesting design, but playstyle wise it can get very boring playing all full defensive, which is why it's in my number 9. Number 8, Drones from Blood Shepherd. So I like this archetype mainly for its interesting playstyle and the design of military related. This archetype's playstyle mainly focuses on dealing damage to your opponent, mainly through direct attack, and then just burn them after through cards like Battle Drone General. But not only that, they also have synchros and fusions, which the fusion one is actually pretty strong by the way, which is probably why this archetype appeals to me than the others. Number 7, it's Hydra Drives. Despite the mess of this archetype, design wise and playstyle wise they're actually pretty cool. The playstyle of this archetype mainly focuses on attribute advantage, based on what type of attribute your opponents control, which is why I find this archetype pretty interesting. Although of course one of the main issues is that the main deck is a clusterfuck, and 2, there's nothing relating to light and dark, which are the most supported attributes, which is pretty much the main problem with this archetype. But the playstyle wise is actually awesome, which is why I put this pretty high on the list. And not only that, Link 5s are in this archetype, which is what made it high for me. So for number 6, it's Acapulco's Spirit Tech Force. So design wise it's pretty cool. Playstyle wise, it focuses on using your spirit cores as bullets to gain advantage against your opponent. And with your tech force, like Pendulum Governor and Pendulum Ruler, you can use your spirit cores as effect twice, which does have some similarities to rockets, which is probably why I like this archetype. And not only the design is cool, the playstyle is also pretty interesting. Now where are Water Core and Earth Core? Just making it to my number 5, Lightning's Armatose Legio. So one of the main reasons why I like this archetype is obviously the design and the playstyle of spamming your link monsters, so you can use Armatose Colosseum's ability to special summon more monsters, so you can go for higher link play. And also the playstyle of having your link monsters being linked to your main deck monsters to gain effects. So yeah, design, playstyle, both great. Number 4, Earthbound Servants. First off, I already like the design of the Earthbound Immortals, so the Earthbound Servants actually look pretty cool to me anyway. And playstyle wise, it's similar to the Earthbound Immortals where you want your field spell on the field to get extra benefits. Although in Earthbound Servant's case, you don't exactly need the field spell, but you get extra benefits for having the field spell. And also the monsters are cool, which is why it's high on my list. Number 3, the Clear World deck by Fubuki. So first off, only 2 cards have been printed for this archetype, being Clear World and Clear Vice Dragon. So many of the key pieces, like Clear Rage Golem, Clear Phantom, or Clear Fisher's Knight has not been printed yet, so this one will count. So its design wise, I find it pretty interesting having every monster in a crystal, And the playstyle wise is actually also pretty interesting, focusing on having clear world and being very offensive against your opponent and using clear world for defensive purposes. And not only that, the monsters inside the crystals actually look pretty cool as well, especially Clearfy's dragon and its effect being pretty offensive. And now number 2, it's Darkness's Darkness archetype. So design wise is already pretty cool. Only 2 cards have been printed officially, which is of course going to count as anime archetype still. Key pieces like Darkness Seed and Darkness Eye have not been printed yet. And its playstyle is pretty interesting, focusing on using your Darkness traps by chain linking them using 0 and Infinity, and resetting by using cards like Darkness Neosphere. Although my only issue with this archetype is how is the rulings going to work for it. Mainly because the traps are going to reset randomly every turn through the field spell Darkness. And there's no rulings where you cannot look at your set cards, but that's where Darkness Eye comes in, where you could look at your set cards. So that is my only question about the archetype. But playstyle wise, I absolutely love it, especially the Darkness 1, 2, and 3's devastating effects when you activate them all together. And it's been over 10 years print this archetype already. And now before I go to my number 1, time for some honorable mentions. White Knights. Design wise, pretty awesome. Playstyle wise, mostly focuses on beatdown, but there's really not much about it. Storm Riders. Design wise, Playstyle wise, focuses on anti-link monsters and also destroying your opponent's spells and traps. And finally, the Armor archetype. This archetype never really appealed to me in the first place. I do like its design and playstyle, but my main issue for this archetype is mainly that it doesn't feel like there's a final big boss for this archetype. And finally, number 1, Aethys's New Orders. So design wise, they all look really cool. And playstyle, it mainly focuses on ranking up your new orders from 4 all the way to 13. Yes, 13, which is why it's in my number 1. And not only that, each one of the new orders have some unique effect which will pretty much beat down your opponent, which I'm a sucker of because I always love beating down my opponent, especially with an awesome looking archetype with a pretty interesting playstyle of mainly just ranking up, all the way to 13 by the way. So yeah, design wise pretty awesome, playstyle wise mainly focuses on leveling up, which is how I really like my playstyles most of the time anyway, because I always like to achieve something in a deck. In this case, going all the way to 13. So that's it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Tell me in the comments below on what is your favorite anime exclusive archetypes. But other than that, I hope you guys are all doing fine.